Sometimes secrets don't come out in arguments, or confessions, or by mistake. Sometimes they slip out quietly during a blood test, during a moment that should have passed unnoticed. This isn't the story of how I lost trust in my husband. It's the story of how it was never there to begin with. And it started with a checkup, a simple one. That unraveled everything. It had been years since Rachel visited the doctor for anything other than the flu, but lately she'd been feeling drained. Bruises appeared more easily. She chalked it up to age, stress, hormones. Her husband, Mark, insisted she book a full physical. Just to be safe, he said one morning, pouring her coffee, "Get the whole workup." Rachel smiled. She appreciated his concern. 13 years of marriage, and he was still thoughtful, still present. The clinic visit was routine. Blood work, vitals, a short wait in the sterile hallway, then home. She didn't expect the call 3 days later. "Hi, Rachel, this is Dr. Conway. We received your blood work, and I'd like to go over a few things in person if you're available. Is something wrong?" "It's not urgent, but I believe we need to talk." She didn't like the sound of that. At the clinic, Dr. Conway was kind but direct. She placed Rachel's file on the table and folded her hands gently. "Your blood work shows a rare genetic marker, a hereditary mutation typically passed through family lines. It affects clotting, not dangerous, with monitoring, but it's something your children could inherit." Rachel blinked. "That's strange. No one in my family has ever had anything like that." Dr. Conway tilted her head. "That's where it gets more complicated. Your records indicate you had a child 13 years ago, correct? A son?" "Yes, Ethan." "And your husband is listed as the father?" "He is." Dr. Conway paused. "Then there's something we should consider. Rachel and Mark had both provided family medical histories when Ethan was born. Neither side had anything remotely related to the marker the doctor found. But according to Conway, this particular marker, marker D19S43, was traceable and specific. It's passed from parent to child, and since it didn't come from your side," Rachel's stomach dropped. "You're saying Ethan has it?" "He might. If he does, then your husband must also carry it. And if he doesn't," Dr. Conway leaned forward, "then Mark isn't the biological father." At home, Rachel sat in silence. She stared at the family photo on the fireplace. Ethan's grin, her own arms wrapped around him, Mark beside them, proud and warm. Could it be true? She searched for the right way to ask. "Mark, do you have any family history of genetic disorders?" "Not that I know of." "Why?" "The doctor found something in me. It's hereditary. She says Ethan might have it too." Mark set his coffee down. "Is it serious?" "Not really, but if Ethan doesn't have it, it means..." She couldn't say it. "Let's get him tested," Mark said calmly. Too calmly. The test results came a week later. Rachel opened the envelope with trembling hands. Negative. Ethan didn't carry the marker. She felt like the ground beneath her collapsed in silence. "Are you sure they didn't mess up?" she asked Dr. Conway. "We ran it twice. The sample matched your son's hospital records. The results are accurate." Rachel drove home in a daze. Mark was in the garden. He stood up, wiping his hands on a towel. She held the results out. "He's not yours, is he?" For the first time in 13 years, he didn't look surprised. Mark sat across from her at the kitchen table. He didn't deny it, didn't cry, didn't shout. He just said one thing. "I know." "What do you mean, you know?" "I've always known. I found out a week after he was born." "How?" "There was a letter in your hospital file. An old partner sent it anonymously. I took it before you ever saw it." Rachel stood, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. "You knew for 13 years and never told me?" Mark's eyes were heavy with guilt. "Because I wanted to raise him? Because I chose to love him? But you let me believe a lie. I didn't want to lose my family." Rachel's mind spiraled. A letter? An old partner? Only one person came to mind. Alex. The man she had dated briefly in the months before meeting Mark. They'd broken up, he had moved abroad, there was no overlap, at least not that she had thought. But one night, she remembered. A date misremembered. A test taken late. "What if..." "Did you ever reach out to him?" she asked. "No," Mark said firmly. "Because I didn't want him coming back. I wanted Ethan to be our..." You don't get to edit the truth, Mark. "I was trying to protect it." In the attic, Rachel dug through old boxes. She found Ethan's baby photos, birth certificates, Mark's insurance paperwork, and at the bottom, wrapped in an old hospital blanket, an envelope, yellowed, fragile, unopened. her name on the front in handwriting she didn't recognize. With shaking fingers, she opened it. Inside 2 pages. Page 1. Rachel, if you're reading this, it means you made it through safely. I'm glad. I'm sorry things ended the way they did. But if you're pregnant, if the timing is what I think it is, then please test the baby. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I just want to know if I have a child. No obligations, just truth. Alex. Page 2. A paternity test requisition form. Never filled out. Rachel didn't speak to Mark for days. Ethan sensed the tension. Did I do something wrong? He asked one evening. Rachel pulled him into a hug. No, sweetheart, you did everything right. But her heart was breaking. Not just for the betrayal, but for the realization that she might have also lied, unintentionally. But still. And now Ethan was old enough to ask questions about blood types, about identity. And she would have to decide how much truth to tell, and when. That night, Rachel sat alone in Ethan's room. She held the letter, the test form. Her phone trembled in her hand. Alex was still reachable. A single social media search confirmed it. She could send him a message, open the door, start a fire she couldn't put out, or she could bury it again, pretend none of this had happened. But in the silence of her son's sleeping breath, a different kind of truth whispered to her. And then a knock came at the door. She checked the time, midnight. When she opened it, she dropped the letter because standing there was Alex. He stood at the door like a ghost from another life. 13 years gone, and suddenly, there. No call, no warning, no hesitation. Just Alex. Older, weathered, and holding something in his hand that would make Rachel question everything all over again. Rachel stared at him. The wind rustled through the trees behind him, as if the world was holding its breath. Hi, he said softly. I didn't know if I should come. How did you find me? I didn't. Not really. I was visiting town, drove by, thought maybe. He trailed off. She didn't know what to say, so she stepped aside and let him in. They sat in the living room, the silence between them thick with unspoken questions. Alex held a small envelope. I sent a letter years ago. I know, Rachel said quietly. I just read it last night. He looked down. I didn't expect anything. I just needed to know. Why now? Alex hesitated. Because I saw him, your son. Rachel's blood turned cold. What? I was in town driving past the school. I didn't know it was his school, but I saw him. He looked up, eyes filled with something between wonder and heartbreak. Rachel, he looks exactly like I did at that age. Alex slid the envelope across the table. Rachel opened it. Inside, a photograph of a boy, Alex at 12. Same ears, same half smile, same unruly hair. She pulled a picture of Ethan from her phone. Side by side, the resemblance was chilling. No need for a test. No more doubts. Alex was Ethan's father. And Mark had known all along. Does he know? Alex asked quietly. No, he doesn't even know the question exists. And your husband? Rachel looked away. He's known since Ethan was born. He never told me. Found the letter before I did and hid it. For 13 years. He said he was protecting me, protecting us. Alex clenched his jaw. That wasn't his choice to make. It wasn't yours either, she snapped. You left. You never followed up. Because I didn't want to ruin your life. I didn't know if you were happy or if there even was a child. There was. There is. And I want to know him. The front door creaked open. Mark stepped inside, groceries in his arms, whistling softly. He froze when he saw Alex, his face drained of color. The bag slipped from his hands. Apples rolled across the floor. What are you doing here? We were just talking, Rachel said coldly. You have no right, Mark said, stepping forward. I have every right, Alex said, standing. You gave up that right when you left her. And you gave up your integrity the day you stole that letter. Rachel stood between them. Enough! You lied to me, Rachel said, turning to Mark. I did it for you. No, you did it for yourself because you didn't want to lose control. He would have taken you from me. No, she said, voice shaking. But you did. She turned to Alex. What do you want? He took a breath. Just a chance. A real one. I don't want to disrupt your life. I just want to meet him. He's not ready, Mark said quickly. He doesn't even know he was adopted. He wasn't adopted, Rachel snapped. He was lied to. That night, Rachel sat beside Ethan's bed. He slept peacefully, one hand clutching the corner of his pillow like he had since he was little. How do you tell a child the man who raised him isn't his biological father? That his DNA came from someone he's never met? Would he blame her, hate her, lose trust? Would Mark try to twist the truth again? She didn't know. But the longer she stayed silent, the more the lie grew. And Ethan deserved truth, even if it hurt. The next morning, Rachel found a note in the mailbox. No envelope, just 5 words written in bold, messy ink. You tell him, no signature, no explanation. She stared at it for a long time, until Ethan came out, rubbing his eyes. What's that, Mom? She crumpled the paper. Just junk mail, sweetheart. But her hands shook for hours, because she didn't know if Alex had written it, or if someone else had. Rachel reviewed the hospital files again that night. The birth records, the medical logs. One detail stood out, something she had missed before. The nurse on duty the night of Ethan's birth was the same name as a woman who recently followed her on social media. She clicked the profile. No photos, no posts, only one connection, Mark. Her heart pounded. Had he bribed someone? Or worse, had he known even more than he let on? She scrolled through Mark's old texts, phone records, saved emails, and found a message labeled "for emergency only," sent 12 years ago to a private investigator. Rachel opened the message thread. A name, an address, photos attached. Lex, Alex's parents. A woman and child unrelated. Surveillance clean. No threat. Will continue to monitor. Rachel's blood went cold. Mark hadn't just hidden the truth. He had hunted it. Tracked Alex. Watched. Manipulated. And now, someone else knew. The note. And then her phone buzzed. A new message from a blocked number. You were never supposed to find out. The moment she opened the email, everything shifted. Mark didn't just hide a secret. He buried it under control, fear, and surveillance. Rachel had spent 13 years building a home with a man she thought she knew. But the man she married wasn't protecting her. He was watching her. And now the truth wasn't just unraveling. It was tracking her down. Rachel stared at the blocked message on her phone. You were never supposed to find out. Her heart pounded. It couldn't be from Alex. It didn't sound like him. It sounded like someone who was afraid. Or worse, someone who was trying to make her afraid. She clicked on the email from years ago again. The one Mark had sent to a private investigator just months after Ethan was born. The subject line, background trace, Alexandra Monroe. Attached were photos, logs, dates, times, not of her, but of Alex and his family. Rachel did a reverse search of the email address. It led to a defunct website, Hamilton Security Solutions. No phone number, no contact form, but the Wayback Machine captured an archived About Us page from She wrote down the name of the lead investigator. Warren Briggs. The name sounded familiar. She dug through Mark's tax records in their shared office. One entry stood out, a consulting fee paid to BR Group LLC. Dated 2 weeks after Ethan's birth. She Googled the LLC, registered to W. Briggs. She drove across town to the address listed in the old LLC registry. An office in a rundown strip mall now occupied by a vape shop. But next door, an older man sat behind a dusty desk beneath a peeling sign, Private Solutions and Research. Since Rachel stepped inside, the man looked up, blinking slowly. Can I help you? I'm looking for Warren Briggs. You found him. You worked with Mark Ellis in 2010. You tracked someone named Alex Monroe. His eyes sharpened. That job was sealed, NDA in place. I'm his wife. Briggs sighed. Then you're not gonna like what I'm about to show you. Briggs opened an old laptop, its screen flickering. He asked me to run a full trace. Movements, contacts, online behavior. Why? He said the guy might try to interfere with his family. He framed it like a threat. He double-clicked a folder labeled Monroe. Served inside were dozens of surveillance photos.
Alex leaving his office.
Meeting with colleagues, dropping off groceries at an elderly woman's home. There was no wrongdoing, just a life being watched. Why did you keep these? Because I don't destroy things unless the client pays for the scrub. He never did. Did he ask for more? Briggs hesitated. He asked if I could remove the problem if it came to it. Rachel's mouth went dry. What did you say? I said I don't do those kinds of jobs. Briggs opened another folder. This one, I wasn't supposed to keep, but I did. It was labeled Client Spouse Trace. Inside were photos of Rachel. At the grocery store, at work, at a playground with Ethan. Briggs turned the screen toward her. He said he was concerned about your health, thought maybe you were being followed, asked me to run counter surveillance. But But what? He asked me to install a listening device in your car and cameras in the house. Rachel's knees buckled. Did you? Briggs looked ashamed. The car? Yes. The house? I refused. Back at home, Rachel tore through her car, and behind the center console, taped to the side of a power junction, was a tiny black microphone. She pulled it free, heart pounding. She went to the garage, opened Mark's old tool chest. In the bottom drawer, a zippered case. Inside, 2 more listening devices, labeled, numbered. One marked kitchen, another office, all powered off, but they had been on. She backed away, dizzy, and heard the front door open. Mark. He smiled when he walked in. Hey, you've been out all day, everything okay? She held up the mic. This was in my car. He froze. I can explain. Try. It was for safety. I was scared. After everything with Alex. Don't blame him for what you did. I had to know what you were doing. If he came back, you didn't install that mic for his return. You installed it because you didn't trust me. Mark's voice dropped. You don't know what you're talking about. No, she said coldly. I finally do. That night, Rachel sat by the fireplace, old journals scattered around her. She flipped to a page from Ethan's 2nd birthday. She remembered Mark insisting they stay home that day, that no one else come. Too many people will overwhelm him, he'd said. She'd agreed, trusting him. Now she realized he had been keeping them isolated, controlled, over years, not days. Even the people she did see were filtered through him. She messaged Alex that night. Meet me tomorrow, just you. He responded instantly. Anywhere, anytime. She cleared out a small bag, packed essentials. ID, Ethan's birth certificate, and waited. At 2 a.m., she heard movement. Downstairs, whispers. She crept down the hallway. Mark's office light was on, the door ajar. Inside, he sat at his desk, talking into his phone. No, she doesn't know I still have the backups. If she finds the main drive, we're exposed. A pause. Yes! If she tries to leave with the kid, we'll act. Rachel stepped back, quietly, eyes wide. She opened the guest room closet, pulled down an old laptop bag. Inside was Mark's backup drive. She plugged it into her computer. Files popped up, labeled by month, year, and one folder labeled E confirms. She opened it. Inside, medical scans, emails, a signed letter from a genetics lab. Subject confirmed not biologically related. Unknown paternity, dated before Ethan was born. Rachel dropped the laptop because that meant Mark always knew. Before the test, before the letter, before anything. He had been watching her since before Ethan ever existed. And outside the window, a black car idled. The moment she saw the car outside her window, Rachel's stomach dropped. It wasn't the first time, but this time she knew what it meant. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was confirmation. Mark wasn't just hiding things. He was planning something. And now, every second she stayed in that house was 1 second closer to losing the only thing that mattered. Her son. Rachel paced the bedroom as the early morning light crept across the floor. Her bag was packed. Documents hidden in the lining. Cash collected from discreet ATM visits. The escape wasn't elegant, but it was urgent. She had messaged Alex an hour ago. Pick us up behind the library at 7 a.m. sharp. No questions. He replied instantly. I'll be there. Bring only what mattered. She glanced at the clock. 6:12 a.m. Ethan stirred in his bed. She went to him, brushing his hair softly. Wake up, sweetheart. We're going on a little trip. Is it a surprise? She smiled gently. Kind of. Mark was still asleep downstairs. Or pretending. Rachel crept down the stairs, bag in hand, Ethan beside her. She paused at the door, glancing once at the kitchen, the place they'd shared breakfast, holidays, arguments. And now, it was just a stage. For a play she hadn't agreed to star in, she didn't leave a note. Not yet. She wasn't sure it was safe to. Alex's car was already waiting, parked under a line of trees behind the closed building. He stepped out the moment he saw them, his face filled with equal parts relief and fear. You're okay. Not for long if we stay here, Rachel said. Go, now. Ethan climbed in the back seat without question, still groggy. Rachel slid into the front. You're gonna need to keep driving. I don't care where. I brought everything I could, Alex said. Cash, snacks, burner phones.
Smart.
Did he see you leave? I don't know. But deep down, she felt the answer was yes. The highway stretched endlessly before them. Fields and small towns passed in a blur. Ethan dozed off again. Rachel clutched her bag like a life vest. "How did we get here?" Alex asked. "Because I didn't listen to myself. Because I let someone else write the story." "You're writing it now." Rachel looked out the window. "Maybe, but I don't know where it ends." By the time they reached the third town, Rachel noticed it. A red SUV, 2 cars behind, then again at the gas station, pulled in 10 minutes after them, sat idle. Then on the rural road cutting toward the mountains, it was back. "That SUV," she said softly. "It's been behind us for an hour." Alex checked the mirror. "Want me to lose it? Try." He took the next exit, then another, then a sharp turn onto an unpaved road that dipped through trees. The SUV followed but kept its distance. Rachel's heart raced. What if it's him? Then we don't stop. An hour later, they reached the place Alex had prepared. An old friend's cabin, long unused. No cell service, no internet, just trees and silence. Rachel helped Ethan inside, laid him on the old couch. She sat on the floor and cried. Alex sat beside her. "He won't find us here." "That's what scares me. He always finds a way." "You think he put a tracker in your bag?" "I checked. Nothing obvious." "The car?" "He didn't know about yours." "Then maybe we have a little time." Rachel opened her bag. Buried in the clothing wrapped in scarves was Mark's backup drive. The one labeled E confirms. She powered up the old laptop Alex had brought, opened the folder again. Inside was more than medical scans now. There were photos, hundreds of them, of Rachel, of Ethan, over years, labeled by location, time, even emotion. Ethan, first tantrum. Rachel, suspicious mood. Rachel, car, Alex, preconception, cafe, July 2. Her skin crawled. He hadn't just tracked them. He had cataloged every shift, like a scientist monitoring a subject. One file stood out. Final audio, She clicked play. Mark's voice, tired but calm. "If you're listening to this, Rachel, then I assume you've left. You think I'm the monster. You think I watched you out of obsession." A pause. "But what you don't know is what Alex really wanted. What I found out." Another pause. "You should have trusted me." Then silence. Then a second voice. Not Mark's, Alex's. "She doesn't remember the night we met the second time, but I do. I never meant for this to happen, but if she finds out..." The file ended. Rachel stared at the screen. "What is that?" she whispered. Alex leaned over. His face drained of color. "I don't know. It's not real." "Isn't it your voice?" "I mean, it sounds like me, but I didn't say that." Then, who did? Alex did. Pacing. "It must be fabricated. Deep-faked. He's trying to turn you against me." Rachel shook her head. "Or you're trying to play both sides." "Rachel, tell me what I forgot. What really happened that night?" "There's nothing to tell." Something in his voice cracked. That night, while Ethan slept and Rachel lay awake, she pulled the drive out again. Ran the audio file through Alex's own software, something he once built for corporate clients to detect edited audio. The results? Voice match 94%. No signs of synthetic splicing. Which meant the recording was real, and Alex had lied. She stood, heart thudding, and tiptoed into the kitchen where Alex sat, head in hands. "You need to tell me the truth." He looked up slowly. "You're not ready for it. Try me." He reached into his coat, pulled out an old envelope. Worn, faded, marked with her name. "Because I think you forgot more than you realize." He slid it across the table. She opened it, and inside was a positive paternity test. Dated 3 months before Ethan was born. Signed by Alex. The moment she saw the car outside her window, Rachel's stomach dropped. It wasn't the first time, but this time she knew what it meant. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was confirmation. Mark wasn't just hiding things. He was planning something. And now, every second she stayed in that house was 1 second closer to losing the only thing that mattered, her son. Rachel paced the bedroom as the early morning light crept across the floor. Her bag was packed, documents hidden in the lining, cash collected from discreet ATM visits. The escape wasn't elegant, but it was urgent. She had messaged Alex an hour ago, "Pick us up behind the library at 7 a.m. sharp, no questions." He replied instantly, "I'll be there. Bring only what matter." She glanced at the clock, 6:12 a.m. Ethan stirred in his bed. She went to him, brushing his hair softly. "Wake up, sweetheart. We're going on a little trip. Is it a surprise? She smiled gently, kind of. Mark was still asleep downstairs, or pretending. Rachel crept down the stairs, bag in hand, Ethan beside her. She paused at the door, glancing once at the kitchen, the place they'd shared breakfasts, holidays, arguments, and now it was just a stage. For a play she hadn't agreed to star in. She didn't leave a note. Not yet. She wasn't sure it was safe to. Alex's car was already waiting, parked under a line of trees behind the closed building. He stepped out the moment he saw them, his face filled with equal parts relief and fear. You're okay. Not for long if we stay here, Rachel said. Go, now. Ethan climbed in the back seat without question, still groggy. Rachel slid into the front. You're going to need to keep driving. I don't care where. I brought everything I could, Alex said. Cash, snacks, burner phones. Smart. Did he see you leave? I don't know, but deep down, she felt the answer was yes. The highway stretched endlessly before them. Fields and small towns passed in a blur. Ethan dozed off again. Rachel clutched her bag like a life vest. How did we get here? Alex asked. Because I didn't listen to myself. Because I let someone else write the story. You're writing it now. Rachel looked out the window. Maybe, but I don't know where it ends. By the time they reached the third town, Rachel noticed it. A red SUV, 2 cars behind, then again at the gas station. Pulled in 10 minutes after them. Sat idle. Then on the rural road cutting toward the mountains, it was back. That SUV, she said softly. It's been behind us for an hour. Alex checked the mirror. Want me to lose it? Try. He took the next exit, then another. Then a sharp turn onto an unpaved road that dipped through trees. The SUV followed but kept its distance. Rachel's heart raced. What if it's him? Then we don't stop. An hour later, they reached the place Alex had prepared, an old friend's cabin, long unused. No cell service, no internet, just trees and silence. Rachel helped Ethan inside, laid him on the old couch. She sat on the floor and cried. Alex sat beside her. He won't find us here. That's what scares me. He always finds a way. You think he put a tracker in your bag?
I checked.
Nothing obvious. The car. He didn't know about yours. Then, maybe we have a little time. Rachel opened her bag. Buried in the clothing wrapped in scarves was Mark's backup drive. The one labeled E confirms. She powered up the old laptop Alex had brought, opened the folder again. Inside was more than medical scans now. There were photos, hundreds of them, of Rachel, of Ethan, over years, labeled by location, time, even emotions. Ethan, first tantrum. Rachel, suspicious mood. Rachel, tall. Alex, preconception, cafe, July. Her skin crawled. He hadn't just tracked them. He had cataloged every shift. Like a scientist monitoring a subject. One file stood out. Final audio dat. She clicked play. Mark's voice, tired but calm. If you're listening to this, Rachel, then I assume you've left. You think I'm the monster. You think I watched you out of obsession. A pause! But what you don't know is what Alex really wanted. What I found out. Another pause. You should have trusted me. Then silence. Then a second voice. Not Mark's.
Alex's.
She doesn't remember the night we met the second time. But I do. I never meant for this to happen, but if she finds out, the file ended. Rachel stared at the screen. What is that? She whispered. Alex leaned over, his face drained of color. I don't know. That's not real. Isn't it your voice? I mean, it sounds like me, but I didn't say that. Then who did? Alex stood, pacing. It must be fabricated. Deep-faked. He's trying to turn you against me. Rachel shook her head. Or you're trying to play both sides. Rachel, tell me what I forgot. What really happened that night? There's nothing to tell. But something in his voice cracked. That night, while Ethan slept and Rachel lay awake, she pulled the drive out again. Ran the audio file through Alex's own software. Something he once built for corporate clients to detect edited audio. The results? Voice match 94%. No signs of synthetic splicing. Which meant the recording was real. And Alex had lied. She stood, heart thudding, and tiptoed into the kitchen where Alex sat, head in hands. You need to tell me the truth. He looked up slowly. You're not ready for it. Try me. He reached into his coat, pulled out an old envelope. Worn, faded, marked with her name. Because I think you forgot more than you realized. He slid it across the table. She opened it, and inside was a positive paternity test, dated 3 months before Ethan was born, signed by Alex. There's a difference between forgetting and being made to forget. And Rachel now understood her silence hadn't been chosen. It had been engineered through sedatives, through deception, through the people she trusted most. Now, the question wasn't what happened that night. It was, why did they go so far to bury it? And what she found next would shatter the only thing left she believed in, her own motherhood. After finding the audio file labeled confirmedcapture.mp3, Rachel searched the metadata. It had been recorded on proprietary software linked to the Rothwell Institute, a private facility specializing in experimental reproductive technology. She had never heard of it. She searched online. No public address, no phone number. But in a forum for women recovering from fertility trauma, she found a whisper thread. Anyone hear of Rothwell? Signed a trial form when I was young. Never got copies. Blacked out during a routine egg retrieval. Still have no answers. Rachel scrolled faster. Another entry. They said I miscarried. I think they lied. And another. My kid has a rare blood type. Doesn't match mine. I think they swapped embryos. Rachel's vision blurred. It wasn't just her. This was bigger. Sienna reached out to an old colleague, Dr. Camila Ruiz, who once interned with Rothwell during med school. Rachel and Sienna met her in a parking garage after dark. Camila wore sunglasses despite the night. I'm risking everything being here, she whispered. You have no idea who owns that place. I think my son was a result of something they did. 13 years ago, I was never told. I was never asked. Camila nodded slowly. That year, Rothwell was running a pilot project, privately funded. They called it Clean Parenthood. They said it was for at-risk women, designed to implant genetically stable zygotes, to ensure compatibility. Rachel froze. What does that mean? They matched women to embryos based on unspoken eugenic profiles. If they thought the father was a wreck, emotional, behavioral, unstable, they quietly replaced the embryo with one from their approved pool. Rachel's stomach turned. Are you saying Ethan might not be mine? Camila didn't answer. She handed Rachel a card. Get the boy tested. Full chromosomal screening. Then come find me. Rachel didn't tell Alex. Didn't tell Mark. She took Ethan to a trusted private lab 3 towns over. Told him it was for a school science project. They swabbed his cheek. Ran her blood beside his, and then she waited. 2 days later, the envelope arrived. She opened it with trembling fingers. Results. Probability of biological relationship, her knees buckled. Ethan wasn't hers. Not genetically, not biologically. She collapsed in the hallway, sobbing. Her entire identity as a mother, built on a lie. Rachel dug deeper. She re-examined her fertility records from 13 years ago. There was a note in her gynecologist's system. Patient referred to Rothwell for early-stage monitoring. She had no memory of this. She found an appointment marked simply wellness screening, consent on file, but there was no signed form, only a scanned image, her signature forged, and next to it, under procedure, zygote exchange. Subject, Rachel's breath caught. They had removed her embryo, implanted another, raised inside her, loved by her, but he wasn't hers. And still, she couldn't stop loving him. Sienna helped trace Rothwell's board members, shell companies, anonymous donors, but one name stood out. ME Innovations, board advisor, Mark Ellis. Rachel's fingers shook. She clicked on an archive document. Mark Ellis to advise on psychological compliance and family dynamic stability. Primary consultant for phase 1 of Project Airtrace. Her Mark had been part of Rothwell. From the beginning, he didn't just lie, he chose her. He built a life on theft. Rachel called Camila. I have the test, he's not mine, and I know now Mark was involved. Camila's voice cracked. Then you're in danger. They'll come for the boy before the truth spreads.
We'll let them.
Then you need to get out, now, and I'll meet you with evidence. Rachel packed bags in silence, tucked Ethan's favorite hoodie into her coat. She wrote a letter, sealed it, and hid it in his journal, in case she didn't come back. They were leaving. Rachel met Camila at a halfway diner in the countryside. Camila slid a flash drive across the table. Everything you need, names, experiments, witness accounts. What about the donors? That's the worst part. She opened the files. One line stood out. Subject 7B, biological donor code. Rachel blinked. That's Mark's initials. Camila nodded slowly. He didn't just advise, he donated material, he created the embryo himself. Rachel stared. He built the perfect son, with me as the carrier. And he never told you, because he chose me, like a host, like a project. Rachel returned to the cabin. Alex met her outside. Where were you? Getting the truth. What truth? She looked him in the eye. Ethan isn't mine. Alex froze. What? And he's not yours either. Then who? Mark. He made him, designed him, planted him in me. She handed Alex the flash drive. His hands trembled. We have to go to the police. We can't. Not yet. They'll erase us before we get the chance. Inside, Ethan came out, rubbing his eyes. Mom, who's here? Rachel hugged him tightly, but her eyes were on the driveway, where a black van now sat. Engines still running. And the driver, wearing a Rothwell badge. Some mothers carry their children for 9 months. Rachel carried Ethan for 13 years, and now they wanted him back. Not because of love, not because of custody, but because he was property, a project. And they had a name for this moment. A cold, clinical name, the retrieval protocol. Rachel gripped Ethan tighter, her heartbeat thudding in her ears. The black van at the edge of the driveway wasn't moving, but the engine was still on. The man in the front seat wore sunglasses, even at dusk. And on his jacket, subtle but unmistakable, the Rothwell insignia, a white hexagon with 3 dots. Alex, she whispered. We need to go, now. Alex peered out. I'll stall him. Get Ethan in the car. You're not going alone. We don't have time to argue. He walked out into the driveway, arms raised. Rachel took Ethan's hand and slipped out the back door. Behind the cabin, thick woods stretched for miles. Rachel ran with Ethan through the trees, feet crunching on old pine needles. Mom, what's happening? I need you to trust me. Is that man trying to hurt us? He wants to take you. Why? She paused behind a tree, crouched down to Ethan's eye level. Because they think you belong to them. But they're wrong. You're mine, no matter what anyone says. His lip trembled. Okay, you remember how we practiced running games during hide and seek? He nodded. This is like that. We move quiet. We don't stop. They ran deeper into the woods. 10 minutes later, Alex caught up, out of breath and limping. I stalled them, but not for long. He had backup down the road. Did they say what they wanted? He said, quote, the asset has been misallocated. We're correcting the record. Rachel clenched her fists. He's not an asset. He's a boy, a person. Not to them. To them, he's a patent. We need to disappear. Camila has a contact, someone who used to scrub records for whistleblowers. Then that's our next stop. They met Camila's contact at a rundown motel off a forgotten highway. His name was Julian, ex-cybersecurity, former Rothwell contractor, now in hiding. He scanned Ethan's genetic signature, Rachel's ID history, and Alex's accounts. They embedded him with traceable biocoding. Every 5 days, his body sends out a location ping. To who? Whoever still owns the algorithm, likely Rothwell, possibly Mark. Rachel leaned forward. Can you remove it? Not easily. It's built into his endocrine rhythm. Then disable the signal. Julian hesitated. Doing that will trigger a failsafe. A red flag. Once it's off, they'll assume he's been taken or destroyed. Then let them. Julian ran the override. For a moment, nothing. Then, a soft beep. A countdown started on the screen. 72 hours until hard protocol activation. What's that? Rachel asked. They'll send the Black Recovery Team. It's not law enforcement, it's not public, and it doesn't ask questions. How do we stop them? Julian looked at Rachel. You don't. You hide. Or you go public before they can shut it down. How? With this. He handed her a second flash drive. Everything. Records, names, DNA swaps, even the first draft of their synthetic parenting manifesto. Alex blinked. They wrote a manifesto? Julian nodded grimly. They see this as the future. Ownership-based parenting. Chosen genetic legacies. Mothers like Rachel, just vessels. Sienna helped coordinate with a journalist from the Globe Ledger, someone known for blowing open hidden pharma scandals. Rachel, Alex, and Ethan holed up in a safe house 2 towns over. They prepared statements, documents, timelines. Once this is published, the journalist warned, you won't be able to hide. Rothwell will deny, sue, counterspin. Rachel nodded. Let them. But if I'm going down this time, I take them with me. That night, Rachel's burner phone rang. An unknown number. She answered. Mark's voice came through. You've made a mess. You made the mess. I'm just cleaning it up. You were supposed to be grateful. For what? Carrying a child I didn't consent to? Living a lie for over a decade? A pause. He's not safe with you. You don't understand his purpose? He's not a project, Mark. He's my son. He's my creation. Then you better prepare to lose him. You think this ends with a news article? I think it ends with truth. No, Mark whispered. It ends with fire. At dawn, Rachel prepared to leave for the final interview with the Globe Ledger. She packed the files, Ethan's things, the flash drives. Alex checked the car. Sienna double-checked the route, but just as they stepped outside, Ethan stopped, pointed at the woods. Mom, there's someone there. Rachel turned. Out of the shadows came 6 men, uniformed, masked, silent. One held up a tablet. On it, Ethan's face, and 2 words blinking in red, target block. When systems see your child as property, every act of motherhood becomes a threat. Rachel had always believed love was enough. But now, as uniformed men surrounded her, she realized to keep Ethan safe, she'd have to fight like he was hers. Because he was. No science, no lab, no forged consent form would take that away. 6 men, black tactical gear, no faces. One held a Rothwell-issued tablet flashing the words, "Target locked." Rachel pushed Ethan behind her. Alex stepped forward with shaking hands. This is illegal? He's a minor, you can't just take him. The leader said nothing. Just pressed something in his earpiece. Rachel glanced toward the tree line. Run, she whispered to Ethan. Run to Sienna. Don't look back. Ethan hesitated. Go. He bolted into the woods. 2 men gave chase. Rachel lunged forward, grabbing a branch from the ground and swinging blindly at one of them. He staggered back but didn't fall. Alex tackled another to the ground. Sienna, Rachel screamed. The van! Start the van! Sienna floored the gas pedal as Ethan dove into the back seat. Rachel and Alex ran beside it, ducking just as a dart zipped past her shoulder. They made it in. Sienna swerved, the van kicking up gravel. One of the agents tossed something, a small canister. It rolled beneath the tires. Boom! A flash, not fire, blinding white light. Rachel's ears rang, but Sienna didn't stop. They tore down the dirt path into the main road. Rachel looked back. 3 agents disappeared into the woods. But 3 were already back in a black SUV, tailing them. Julian, the ex-Rothwell tech, had promised them one final safe house. A farmhouse 30 miles east, run by another whistleblower named Naomi. When they arrived, the barn was empty. No lights, no car. Rachel's stomach twisted. Something's wrong. Alex checked the back. No signs of struggle. But when Rachel entered the kitchen, she saw the note taped to the fridge. They came early. I didn't talk, but run. And below it, in shakier handwriting, someone tipped them off, someone close. Rachel and Sienna took turns guarding Ethan while Alex and Julian rerouted communications. Sienna sat beside Rachel on the porch. Who do you trust right now? She asked. Rachel shook her head. You, Ethan, maybe Julian, but Alex. You think it's him? He was at the hotel that night. He had access to the drive, and if Rothwell ever needed a sleeper. Sienna looked away. I don't want to say this, but someone rerouted our email chain yesterday. All our files got mirrored. To who? It bounced through 4 IPs, but one of them traces back to someone you know. Who? Sienna hesitated. Mark's sister, Hannah. Rachel blinked. She's dead. Then someone's using her identity. Julian worked through the night, scanning Ethan again. There's more, he said grimly. They didn't just track him through hormone cycles. He's got an embedded nano trigger, deep, cervical spine area. A kill switch? No. Worse. A behavior override, designed to turn docile or aggressive based on outside commands. Rachel stepped back, horrified. How do we get it out? Surgical removal. Risky. One wrong move and he loses motor function. Then we find someone who can do it. We have 48 hours before they force a soft reboot. That's when his memory and identity might begin rewriting. Rachel covered her mouth. We're running out of time. Julian crafted a GPS ghost signal to fake their location, sending Rothwell's trackers 3 states west. The next morning, they prepped to move Ethan to a hidden surgical unit run by Camilla's friend, a rogue neurosurgeon named Dr. Elira Feng. They loaded the van. Everything seemed clear. Until halfway there, Julian's face drained of color. They're still following us. How? I don't know. Yes, you do, Rachel said. You told me the ghost signal would reroute them. It should have. Unless someone shut it off. That's not possible. Rachel turned slowly to Alex. Where's your phone? I left it behind. Show me your bag. He hesitated. Rachel, you don't think? That you owe me the bag. He handed it over. Rachel ripped it open. Inside, a Rothwell-issued ID badge. Still warm, with Alex's photo and a different name. Graham Ellis. Rachel dropped the bag. Alex didn't deny it, didn't reach for the badge. Just said, softly, I was supposed to bring him in, but I didn't. Because I stayed. Because I love him. Rachel stepped back, eyes wide. Ethan peeked out from the back of the van. Mom, what's wrong? She couldn't speak. And then, the back tire exploded. Glass shattered. Sienna screamed. And the van veered off the road into a ditch, flipping once. And from the tree line, the black SUV returned. There's betrayal. And then there's design. Alex Monroe, the man who once held Rachel's hand in the delivery room, who once cried when Ethan said dad for the first time, wasn't just a man with secrets. He was a man with instructions. And now, the truth Rachel had fought so long to uncover might destroy the very thing she was trying to protect. Smoke billowed from the van. Sienna groaned, clutching her shoulder. Ethan, crying, scrambled into Rachel's arms, scraped but alive. Julian was unconscious in the passenger seat. Blood trickled from his scalp. Alex Graham staggered from the wreck, hands raised. Don't shoot, he shouted toward the black SUV parked across the clearing. Rachel shoved Ethan behind her, glaring at him. You lied to me. I never stopped protecting you. Then why is your badge Rothwell issue? Why does it say Graham Ellis? He looked shattered. Because my real name is Graham Ellis, and I'm not just part of Rothwell. I was Rothwell. Until you... They dragged him away from the van, into the trees. Sienna helped stabilize Julian. Rachel sat across from Graham, fists clenched. Start talking, she said. All of it. He nodded slowly. Mark and I aren't brothers by blood. We were bred under Rothwell's first human trial program, Dual Paths, designed to test environmental conditioning versus synthetic identity reinforcement. You're telling me you're both products? No, he is the prototype. I was created to monitor him, to ensure he stayed on script. Rachel reeled. You mean you've known who he was this entire time? Since before you ever met him, he chose you, Rachel. But I was assigned to make sure he didn't deviate. Then why pretend to be Ethan's father? Because I was never supposed to fall in love with either of you. Rothwell didn't just want to control parenting, Graham continued. They wanted to manufacture lineage. You and Mark were supposed to raise Ethan as a proof of concept, the genetically engineered child, emotional stability, high cognitive function, predictable behavior. Predictable? He's not just a boy, he's an algorithm made flesh. Rachel shook her head. He's my son, not a result. He's both, but he's also more. What does that mean? Graham leaned closer. Ethan is the first child born through Rothwell's Phase 2 protocol, which means what? He's capable of neural absorption. He's not just learning, he's adapting human behavior faster than any child ever documented. He can imprint entire patterns just from exposure. Rachel blinked. Are you saying he's watching us like a mirror? Yes, and if Rothwell gets him back, they'll use him to write the blueprint for the next generation of programmable children. While Rachel interrogated Graham, Sienna accessed a surviving drive from the wreck. Inside, a file auto-launched with emergency override credentials, Phase 2 observation notes, a video played. Ethan, at age 3, in a room she didn't recognize. He sat at a table, staring blankly as scientists fed him stimuli, emotional videos, violent films, calming audio. On-screen data spiked. Subject shows perfect mirroring response. He no longer distinguishes his own emotion from observed emotion. Recommend further identity separation trials. Sienna slammed the laptop shut. Rachel, they've been training him since infancy. Rachel paced the woods. If he's this important, they'll never stop. No, Graham said. That's why we need to get him out of the country. And go where? There's a place. South America. Rothwell has no jurisdiction there. Off-grid community, ex-agents, doctors, people like me. You want me to disappear with the son you helped create in a lab? I want you to save him. Why should I trust you? Graham pulled out a worn photo. Rachel, holding infant Ethan, in the hospital. This was the moment everything changed for me. I wasn't supposed to feel, but I did. I couldn't stop watching that moment. I think I imprinted. Julian regained consciousness that evening. We don't have long. They'll track the crash. Probably already deployed drones. We need a diversion. Rachel looked down at Ethan, now sleeping under a blanket, his small hand clinging to hers. She looked at Graham. You want to protect him? With everything I have. Then help me destroy Rothwell, not run. Graham's eyes narrowed. You do that, and Ethan becomes the symbol of a war. So be it. He'll never live a normal life again. He never had one to begin with. Sienna reviewed metadata from the files. One folder was encrypted under Rachel's name. She cracked it open. Inside, an email draft from Rachel's own email address. Subject, Phase 2 anomaly. Target, unstable. Rachel, she whispered. Did you ever write to Rothwell? What? Never. Then someone forged access. Julian stepped in. It's a false flag. They wanted internal authorization to start hard retrieval. That email is the trigger. Then it's already too late, Rachel murmured. That night, while everyone slept, Rachel heard movement. She crept from the tent. The woods were still. Too still. She returned to the fire. And Ethan was gone. A piece of paper fluttered where he slept. Rachel grabbed it. 5 words, written in Ethan's handwriting. Don't follow me. I remember. For 13 years, Rachel raised Ethan with love. She never questioned the moments, the first steps, the first scraped knees, the first whispers of mom. Now, she was forced to wonder how many of those memories were real. Not just real to her, but real to him. And when he vanished into the woods, leaving only 5 chilling words behind, don't follow me, I remember, Rachel realized Ethan wasn't just a boy anymore. He was a survivor of something too big to name, and he had begun the fight for his own identity, alone. Rachel searched the surrounding woods for hours. Sienna stayed behind with Julian and a recovering Graham. She tried to radio for help, but interference grew stronger, either natural. Rachel called out until her voice cracked. Ethan, please. No answer. The leaves rustled, wind carrying whispers that didn't belong to it. Her legs burned, her lungs ached, and then she found a trail. Small footprints. Pine needles disturbed. It led to a clearing. And in the center, Ethan sat on a log, clutching the Rothwell tablet Graham had dropped. His back was to her. Ethan? He turned. His face was unreadable. Rachel knelt beside him. Why did you leave? Ethan didn't answer. He simply turned the tablet to face her. A video played. Security footage. A lab. Inside, Rachel, hooked to IVs, sedated, monitored. Next to her, an incubator. Inside, a glowing blue embryo. A label etched across the screen. Subject 7B, identity imprint pending. They grew me while you slept, Ethan whispered. I didn't know. I swear to you. I believe you. He looked up. Eyes older than 13 years should allow. But I know what they did now, and I know what I am.
You're my son.
I'm a blueprint. You're my son. Nothing changes that. He blinked. Tears welled. I want to believe that. Ethan showed her a menu on the tablet. It had a function, resync emotional patterning, a way to reset his identity imprint. They built me so I could erase and rebuild myself over and over, like a clean slate. You don't have to do this, Rachel said. But if I don't, they'll keep coming. They'll always want the version of me I used to be, not the one I'm becoming. He looked at her. So I need to give them what they want. No, I need to erase myself. No. Rachel pulled the tablet from his hands. You are not a system. You are a soul. You're mine. But what if I'm dangerous, Mom? Then we fight together. Back at camp, Rothwell's final strike came at dawn. Drones overhead. Trucks surrounding the valley. Julian jammed their frequencies. Sienna triggered the EMP grenades Graham had buried. Chaos erupted. Rachel ran with Ethan into the bunker Julian had built beneath the barn. What's the plan? Graham asked. We go live, Rachel said. Now. Sienna connected the laptop to an uplink. Rachel began streaming everything. The files, the medical reports, the footage of subjects, her testimony. And then Ethan stepped forward. I want to speak. Rachel's eyes widened. Are you sure? He nodded. They made me, but they don't own me. Ethan's face appeared on screens around the world. Live. My name is Ethan Monroe, or Ethan Ellis, or maybe just Ethan. They created me in a lab. I didn't get to choose how I was born, or who raised me, or what they wanted me to become. But I get to choose now. I'm not a test. I'm not a blueprint. I'm not your project. I'm a person, and I'm staying that way. The broadcast went viral in 6 hours. Within 12, Rothwell's board resigned en masse. By day 2, federal agencies raided their labs. By day 3, warrants were issued. Mark Ellis disappeared. Rachel and Ethan were taken to a witness protection facility, guarded and sealed. And for the first time in years, Rachel exhaled. But peace doesn't come easily, not after you've been rewritten. A modest house in northern Canada. Snow outside. Fire inside. Ethan, now 14, worked on a puzzle at the table. Rachel stirred soup. You hungry? She asked. Always. You okay? He looked at her. Smiled softly. I don't know who I was supposed to be, Mom. Neither do I. But I like who I'm becoming. Rachel sat beside him, held his hand. Me too. He leaned his head against her shoulder. Some children are born into love. Others are chosen. And some, like Ethan, are forged in fire, betrayal, and design. But when they are loved, truly loved, they become something more than what they were intended to be. They become free. Rachel didn't carry Ethan in her womb. She carried him through storms, through questions, through nightmares. And in the end, that was the truest kind of motherhood. What if the strongest bond isn't in blood, but in the love that fights to keep you whole? Moral reflection. We are not what they made us. We are what we choose. When we find someone brave enough to love us through the storm, what did this final chapter teach you about autonomy, identity, and the kind of love that redefines what family really means? Let us know in the comments.